Hello humans, it's just Martine and welcome to the start of another weekly reading vlog. There are 2 weeks left in September and I have too many books I want to / need to finish before October because my friends and I are doing a very specific thing in October, and that means I can only read a very specific type of book in October, and I'm in the middle of or prioritizing lots of books that don't fit into that category right now. So we're just gonna see how much reading we can get done this week. We started off strong this morning. I popped in my audiobook because I'm listening to Queen of Air and Darkness, and that's due in a couple days. And it's a long audiobook because it's like an 800-page book. And so now I'm like 30% of the way into that. And then I went to the gym and did my like normal 75 hard reading. So 30 minutes of 12 TBR's books, 30 minutes of an owned book. In this case, it's an owned ebook that hopefully I'll finish this week and get to talk to you about. I'm reading the last book in the Grifter's Daughters series that I have access to. So yeah, I finished the second book in that series in last week's vlog, so you can check out my review there. But it's also a crazy busy week school-wise. Not only do I have lots of work to be doing, but it's also homecoming week, so there's lots of extra stuff happening around campus that I want to be able to participate in, but that will eat into my reading time, so it's all like, you know, it's just gonna be a crazy week, but it's gonna be a fun one, so come along with me, let's get some reading done.
Who are you? I don't recognize this person. You've turned into someone different. Ooh. Take a look at yourself in the mirror.
The storm is so bad. That is not a lake. That's usually a field. All of that is usually a field. That's usually a field. It's usually flat grass, so that's great. Good morning, happy Tuesday. Yeah, we've gotten off to quite a start this week. Yesterday it was crazy. I was doing so much work, and then I also finished a book last night. I finished The House of Roots and Ruin, which is the second book in the series that starts with The House of Salt and Sorrows. It's like kind of related to that book, but also like not. Like it's a totally separate standalone story to it, but in the same universe with some of the same characters, if that makes sense. So in this one, we're following Verity, and she's been stuck living in the same house or like manor or whatever you'd call it for her entire life, and a ton of her sisters and family have died, and so her older sister wants to keep her there like safe, and then she suddenly gets invited to go to this other place out in the world, and she's commissioned to do a portrait of the heir of a duke, and so she leaves her house for the first time ever to go paint this picture, and lots of creepy things happen from there. I'm giving this book 4 stars. It was such a fun time. The atmosphere was great. That's what this author does like best in my opinion, because the first book had such a great atmosphere and this one did too, but they were also different creepy atmospheres, because the first book is set more around like the ocean and this one was set more around like plants. I don't know. And also the like house played more of a role in this one, I think, than in the last one. I found all the characters interesting. The twists were crazy. The ending was insane. I literally gasped out loud, not at the end of the epilogue, although that was crazy, but at the end of the last chapter, which was wild. Glad I got that one finished, and then I've got my hand in lots of other pots reading so many things. We have a busy day of work ahead of us, so that's up first.
On your side, ever since we crossed the line, tell me, was it all a lie, or did you change your mind?
Hello, it's Wednesday night and I just realized that I forgot to tell you a couple days ago that I did end up reading Blizzard of the Blue Moon by Mary Pope Osborne, which is one of the Magic Tree House books for this month, and I'm giving it 3.5 stars. I have like a solid memory of the fact that my sister owned this book. Specifically, it was her copy of the book, but I'm not sure if I ever read it growing up, but it was a fun time and we finally got the duck spell, and that's what matters to me. But other than that, I've just been working through different books, switching between them. So that's been my reading week so far.
Did you change your mind? Tell me, did you change your mind?
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Today is a pretty big day for me. It's like a small big day, if that makes sense. So in my program, every week we meet up and have Brown Bag, where we usually talk about something specific, whether it's somebody sharing a research idea and us giving feedback to them, or talking about something like pre-registering studies or travel funding for a conference or whatever. So we talk about all those things, and it's the students in my program and the faculty of the program. In my first year, I did not have to present in Brown Bag at all. And today, for the first time, I'm presenting in Brown Bag, which feels like a huge deal, even though it's like, it kind of is, it kind of isn't. The reason I'm so nervous about it is because the study that I'm presenting, it matters a lot to me. It's also pretty far along in the design process. And so like, I'm worried about people wanting major changes right now, because the grant for it is due in like a couple weeks. But this is a project that I'm submitting for a grant and also is going to be my master's thesis. So it's like a big and important project to me. And I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that maybe the people in my program aren't as familiar with today, because it has a lot to do with like gender. So yeah, I'm like interested to see how it goes, but I'm like nervous and excited at the same time. So I kind of like, I can't really focus on work, and that I should be reading if I'm not doing work, and I'm like having trouble sitting and focusing. But we're gonna make something happen today, even if it's just that I like survive, present, and survive afterwards. But last night I did finish a Magic Treehouse book. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's something about a red dragon of the Red Dawn, and I'm giving it 3 stars. It was like just okay. One thing that was really weird about this one is that I have a distinct memory of having read the whole thing. This book came out at like a weird time for me. So the memory that I have of this book is that I went to the bookstore with like my family, I think, and I saw it and I was like, ooh, a new Magic Treehouse book. I hadn't read Magic Treehouse in like a little bit then, but I like still really liked Magic Treehouse. This one came out in 2007, so I was 7 at the time, and I was like, ooh, a new one. They're like pretty short books. I wonder if I could read it, because like I know my mom won't say yes to buying this book. So I wonder if I could like read it now. And so I sat down and I read it, and I did read the whole thing in the bookstore. And I think that was my first experience like ever reading a Magic Treehouse book straight through, which is ironic because I did not read it straight through this time. I've been reading it right before bed, and so it actually took me like 2 nights to get through it. So I think what's weird about reading it is that I have that memory. I know that I read it. Nothing in the plot was familiar to me. Not a single thing in the plot was familiar to me, which is wacky. There are other Magic Treehouse books that I had read before this one growing up that I remember specific plot twists about, or I remember like just more about them in general. And this one, I guess I didn't remember anything except the fact that I had read it. 3 stars to that one. In it, we're visiting ancient Japan, which is kind of cool, and there is a dragon involved, which is kind of cool. I just wasn't feeling this one, which is probably why I had to fall asleep before reading the second half of it and split it into 2 days, but that's where my reading's been.
You come through. I just wanna hear your voice.
Hello, it's finally the weekend, and thank goodness for that. When I left you yesterday, I was getting ready for my big presentation talk, and it went well. Like, when I think objectively about it, it went well, but it was exhausting mentally, physically, emotionally, in all of those ways. And so I got like nothing else accomplished yesterday. Barely even read, just did the reading that I had to do for the 75 hard reading challenge. Felt like really unwell last night. So I also did like the minimum amount today. Like I did some readings for class, I had a meeting, but overall I tried to keep things pretty chill, and I'm planning on reading for the rest of the evening. And one thing that I did today is that I did read the last Magic Treehouse book for this month, which was Monday with the Mad Genius. And I'm giving this one 4 stars, which makes it my favorite, I think. No, it might be tied for my favorite of this month, but it's definitely my favorite of the ones that I've read this week. That's crazy because I listened to it on audiobook, and usually I like them less if I listen to them on audiobook. But in this one, Jack and Annie go and meet Leonardo da Vinci, and I don't know why, but I thought that was so fun. I just thought it was fun. And I also like didn't rush myself. Like usually if I listen to Magic Treehouse on audiobook, I try to listen to it like as fast as possible just to get through it. And this time I was like, nah, I'm gonna go 1.5 times speed, which is usually like, I never listen to books at that speed. I usually listen to it faster than that, but I was just vibing. And so it was a pleasant part of my day, because I told myself like,
everything was so fast yesterday. Like there was just adrenaline in my body all day yesterday. It was too much. It was everything, the world was fast. And so I was like, I need a slower day. So I slowed it down. It was good. It was fun. I have so much reading I want to do this weekend. So much. And you're only going to hear about part of it because so much of it is 12 TBRs because I'm not going to be able to read most of them in October. And October is usually a huge month for me in 12 TBRs. So I'm like stressed about it. Let's go get some dinner.
But you're not giving me a choice. What do I do when right now you're like a stranger and you've put
Good
our
morning.
love in
Happy Sunday. Yesterday I had a great reading day. Bailey and I were basically doing sprints like all day. I took a bit of a break, but for the most part I was reading. Like I read for 7 hours yesterday. I finished some 12 TBRs books, which is good. But I also finished some books that I can talk to you about. So first I finished Dune Messiah. And even though I was like confused for a lot of the time, there was just something I really enjoyed about this book. So it ended up getting 3 stars when maybe it should get lower. Dune Messiah is the second book in the Dune series, which follows this. He starts as a young man, but he grows up through the series, Paul Atreides, and he's the son of a duke on this one planet, and then they go to this new planet called Arrakis, which is like this desert planet. Things happen from there, and from the very beginning of the series, we start to learn that Paul has like oracular visions and that he might be this type of messiah that's been prophesied about. This book takes place like over a decade after the first book ends, and it had been a while since I read the first book, and then like I've watched the adaptation since then, like the recent adaptation, but that only covers the first half of the book. Like part 2 is coming out probably next year or something, and I'm so looking forward to it. But basically that means that every time I interact with something about Dune, it only tells me the first half of the story. So the first half of the story I know exactly what happened, and then I like forget what happened in the second half. So it took a while to adjust to the fact that we were like sitting in the repercussions of those things that I had completely forgotten about. But eventually I got my feet under me, and I didn't think about the philosophical things for like as long as maybe would be beneficial to enjoy this story more. But like overall, I thought it was like an interesting commentary on power and the role of religion and stuff in the world, so I'm giving it 3 stars. I also finished The Blonde with the Dangerous Dew by Duane Lindsay, which is the 3rd book in the Grifter's Daughter series, which is this series about this woman who is the daughter of like one of the greatest con men of all times, and she does her own cons and stuff. I'm giving this book 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it better than the second book. This is the last one that I have access to in the series, and I'm not gonna like seek out the others, but overall I had fun with this one because in this one, I just liked the con better in this one than in the last one, and like the general plot, because in this one it's kind of like a revenge con story. So like something happens to the main character and then she's like, okay, now I'm mad, I'm gonna con these people, which I thought was a fun setup for a book. I'm hoping to finish at least one more book this weekend, or at least there's one that I know I can finish, and the others it's like, I don't know.
It seems like overnight it all changed when I closed my eyes. I woke up and something didn't feel right, no.
Howdy, it's now 1:37 in the afternoon, and I just finished reading Camino Winds by John Grisham, which I'm giving 3.5 stars. It did not involve as much of a con as the first book, which lowered its rating, but I still feel like the atmosphere of the series is so fun. I do feel like they're kind of standalones, like they follow the same characters, but since they're about crimes, like they're totally separate. So I'm not going to tell you about the whole series, I'm going to tell you about this book specifically. It's largely set on this island in Florida, Camino Island, and we largely follow this group of writers. Is it Bruce that owns the bookstore? Right, a bookstore owner. And then there's like a hurricane that comes into the area. It's hurricane season here right now, so it was very relatable seeing them get ready for the storm and all of that stuff. And we actually had some pretty bad storms, not like a hurricane, but bad storms here this week. So a lot of the time that I spent reading this, it was actually quite stormy out, which was funny. But so we had the storm, and then during the storm, somebody in town passes away, and the group kind of starts investigating that because they don't fully believe that it was just like because of the storm. And so that's what the book is about. And overall it's like fun and interesting, but nothing mind-blowing. But I do love the atmosphere of the like small town Florida island. I don't know, I love that, especially as a person who's spent some time living in like a smaller Florida town or city. Like it's just it's fun, okay? It's fun. I like the vibes of that a lot. Glad to get another book off the list for the end of the month. Another one that I started during Squash That series, or like intended to maybe get through during Squash That series, is now actually done. So that's good. And with that, new week, new vlog. So I'm going to end this one here. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below. How was your reading month going so far? And subscribe for more reading, writing, and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!